Hello and welcome back to Boxing Social in association with Betfred. My name is Ayman Khan and I'm joined on a warm Wednesday evening, taking a sip of water with the one and only Sam Jones to talk the latest in boxing. First of all, Sam, how are you doing?
I'm good, mates. It is hot, like you say, but it's better than it being freezing, so can't complain.
Sam, let's get into some of the latest in boxing then. A couple of things I want to get to you first. Your thoughts on some fighters that you were linked in the past, that you worked in with the past, had some recent outings and recent news. First of all, Johnny Fisher. Fisher looking good at the weekend. What was your thoughts on Fisher's performance?
Yeah, I went to see Johnny on Saturday. Very good. Listen, he was a little bit clumsy in the first round, but listen, Johnny's raw, so he's going to get that experience, and he's going to get that experience by fighting guys like the guy he fought on Saturday that actually came and had a real go at him. And I thought Johnny was really relaxed in his approach when he was under attack. So he got caught with a silly one early, but you can see him progressing and progressing and progressing. And as I say, Johnny's got all the attributes it takes to go a long way in this sport. And he's got what all boxers crave, the one-punch equalizer. So, yeah, I was very proud of Johnny on Saturday. I really was. And as I say, I'm very close to Johnny. We speak all the time. And, I have a very close very close relationship with him. And I'm very close to his development.
How far away do you think he is from maybe fighting for an English title? We'll see that Fabio Wadley will vacate his English when he fights for the British. How far away do you think he is from that?
No, he's not ready for that yet. He's not ready for that yet. He will be. He absolutely will be. But all the talk of these domestic names, Johnny's not ready for that yet. Johnny is not ready for that yet. Johnny will do his developing in the ring, sparring people like Joe Joyce, who he's sparred with, Derek Chisora. Johnny will learn in sparring, and then when it's right for him to take the foot off, to be let off the leash, Johnny will be ready, and Johnny will win that English title, and Johnny will go on and do very good things in boxing. He's got all the potential, and the key is with Johnny, he learns. He's like a sponge, so he takes it in everything. Like, let's say Tyson Fury offers his advice to Johnny, Joe Joyce, like all these people. Johnny is a sponge, and he takes it in, and believe me, he'll go a long way. But as for titles, not yet for Johnny.
Another fighter you were linked with as well in the past. It was on, then it was off, and it was back on. We got the announcement last week in the press conference, that being Joe Joyce, the juggernaut, taking on Joseph Parker. Your reaction to that fight getting made?
Yeah. I spoke to Joe today. He's training away in Las Vegas, preparing for Joseph Parker. Listen, this is the fight that will get Joe motivated. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's sometimes like when Joe's 36 years old, so like he's for Hammer, like the hard fights to get up for. When you say he's number one in the division, this fight will get Joe going. It will make him tick. So I'm expecting Joe. Listen, for the first few rounds will be difficult for Joe. It will be very difficult for Joe. Parker will have lots of grease. He will tag Joe. Joe will get caught. But Joe Parker's engine, there's a pattern in Joe Parker's fights. He's looked great in the earlier rounds, and he gasses. And you just can't change that, I'm afraid. So, and if you gas against Joe Joyce, you are fucked. So that's what will happen in that fight, in my opinion. I think, as I say, he'll have success early on, Joseph Parker, without a doubt. But then Joe will run him over in the later rounds. He'll drown him in the later rounds. And I'm really looking forward to it. As I say, I'm in regular contact with Joe. He's one of my close friends. And I can't wait to be there in Manchester to support him.
Sam, it's very interesting that this is a fight that's been made cross-promotional, cross platforms too, when there hasn't been anything mandated. Normally that's the case, that fights get made when they're mandated, but this isn't the case there. Sign of things maybe to come with promoters working together to make good fights?
This is what happens when promoters work together. You get good fights. You get good nights of boxing. If you don't work with promoters, you get diluted shit the majority of the time. But when promoters work together, this is what you get. So credit to everyone involved.
Speaking of that as well, then that leads me to the big announcement that's been made last night, that being Eubank Jr. and Conor-Benn are going to be fighting October 8th at catchweight. First of all, Sam, your reaction to that fight getting announced?
I've had lots of reactions to that fight. I mean, I was talking about that long before it got made on numerous different platforms. Mate, I'm so excited for that fight. As a boxing fan, it's anybody that tries to play it down, they're lying. It's a monster of a fight. Outside of AJ Tyson Fury in this country, you cannot get a bigger fight than this. It's massive. It's absolutely massive. I've not really, to be honest, I've not seen a buzz like this probably ever. Like how big this has taken off. I think with the backstory of the old men, the history that's involved, the bloodline that's involved, everything, it is massive. It is a fucking monster, this fight is. And I will be on to Eddie Hearn and Frank Smith to get me some freebies, 100%.
Sam, before we break down the fight and go into it, I found a couple of your tweets quite interesting in the past couple of days. I just want to read one out, and then I'll ask you my question after it. This is a quote tweet from yourself. It said, "This was definitely recorded weeks ago. The only delay was to make this explosion after leaking some fake doubt. Well done to the guys, it worked." So my question here, Sam, is how hard is it in this day and age now to keep information in-house so that fights like this and announcements like this don't get leaked, so we get surprises as fans?
Mate, I don't know if you was ever a fan of wrestling. Did you used to watch wrestling as a kid?
Yeah.
Do you remember when somebody used to come back or there was like a big surprise?
Mm-hmm.
You were shocked because there was no social media to kind of leak information or rumors and stuff like that. You just found out. And it's the same in boxing. News travels very, very fast. And once it starts circulating online, the news is out. And that's just what happens. But when Eddie did play it down and kind of said, listen, it's not done yet, but like they had to answer the questions because so many people, like me included, I was told by numerous sources that it was on. Eddie played it down, and then a few days later, everything went quiet, and then boom, the announcement went off. Random, what day was it on? Random Monday night. Unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. And these are the type of fights that are gonna cross over to and bring in the other audience because of what this fight is all about. Like they're two dads fighting. There's such a huge story involved. It is a massive, massive fight, and as I say, I am really, really looking forward to it because I say before working in boxing and doing all this I've done in boxing, I'm just a boxing fan. I am just a chubby boxing fan that do you know what I mean? Boxing fans live for nights like this, and this has got everything. And the fight can't be a bad fight as well with the two boys' styles. It can't be a bad fight. So what a night that's going to be.
Were you surprised in the sense that when it comes to Conor Benn, Eddie's kind of always mentioned that he's on his own path. He's looking to do his own thing. He'll go to world titles on his own way. He's not interested in an Avanesian, a Stanionis, but then he's kind of traveled the path of his family, which is a path he'll have to travel anyway, but it leads himself to Eubank Jr., which it brings its own dangers in a different sense to an Avanesian or Stanionis would. So were you surprised to see this fight given what could have been for Conor Benn?
I am surprised that the fight actually got done, of course, because it's just that. But when you read into it, it's a great business move. It's a great business move because in this fight, as I say, providing Conor didn't get wiped out in the first few rounds, which I don't expect him to, because Conor's his dad's son. Conor's a tough kid. Providing he didn't get blasted out, Conor can't really lose in this fight because if he did lose against Chris Jr., which I'm sure the bookies will have Chris Jr. as a favourite due to the fact just because he's just the much bigger man, Conor can say he was a bigger man. I had a go and he was a bigger man. He can go back down to 147 and resume his career and his profile's got even bigger than it already was. So it's a great business move. For Chris Jr., it's simply about money. It's simply about money. It's a huge payday for him and Chris Jr. will fully back himself to win the fight. And on paper, he should win the fight. Do you understand what I mean? He should win the fight. But when you look at the reported weight is going to be 158. I'm hearing. I don't know that for a certain fact. It's just what's been reported. If that is to be the case, that's going to be very tough for Chris Jr. to boil himself down to get to that weight. So I wouldn't be surprised if Chris Jr. took a fine on a couple of pounds and just went in feeling comfortable at 160. Because those 2 pounds were those the last two, it's hard. It's so hard for a fighter. I've been there with fighters where they squeeze the last few. It's horrible to see, if I'm honest with you. So I would say Chris Jr. with the monster pay packet he's getting, he'll probably say, do you know what? I'll come in at 160 and I'll feel comfortable, because Conor's not going to pull out the fight in the last minute because Chris has come it was a wasp. I don't think Conor Benn will the teams will say, oh, I'm not fighting on that kind of notice. There's so many intriguing things about this fight that I'm really looking forward to. I mean, for one, the build-up, it's going to be amazing. I hope they do the old HBO style 24/7 build-up, because people are just going to be glued to their screens watching it, especially with the old men involved. It's just got a bit of everything. It really has. It's got a bit of everything. So, but yeah, breaking the fight down. I think Conor's got a chance in this fight due to the way I think Conor has got a chance in this fight. I make Eubank the favourite, but Tony Sims is someone who I rate very, very highly as a trainer, a manager. I rate him as a person. I really do. I really rate Tony Sims. He wouldn't put Conor in this situation if he didn't think he would smash Eubank to bits. So I just think that gives me a bit like, hold on a minute, will Eubank wipe him out? Well, hold on a minute, Conor's confident. Like I messaged Conor, I was like, this is unbelievable. He's like, he goes, because I said, if you win, I said to him, if you win, you are a bona fide superstar. And he went, if I win, when I win. So he's bang up for this fight, and he's fully confident he's gonna whoop Eubank. So let's see. But I can't wait.
Sam, you said a lot of things there. I just want to catch on a couple of things. Some in boxing spheres give a bit of a comparison to, maybe it's a little bit unfair. I want to get your thoughts on this, to Brook and Golovkin. What do you make of those comparisons? Are they fair?
No, it's not fair at all, because I'm a big fan of Eubank Jr., but please can we not compare him to any form of Gennady Golovkin, especially prime Golovkin. Get out of here.
Oh, so, and then also, this can be the own pay-per-view. Conor ready for that pay-per-view stardom, you think?
Yeah, 100%. He was always, that's what they were building him for. He was destined to go that way. I've always said that people have criticized me in the past. Oh, why are you hard on Conor Benn? Because I think he's good. I think he's really good. And I was like, these fights that when Van Heerden got announced, I just wasn't excited. I wasn't excited to watch the fight. And I think Conor's good enough. Do you know what I mean? I really do think he's good enough for the big nights. And we're going to see what Conor's all about in October.
We haven't mentioned we've just touched on the two dads, explosions from the off when the two dads see each other. Do you imagine, Sam?
They went on a tour with each other, but I'm sure they will play along. And I'm sure, I mean, listen, because they went on a tour with each other, this is still their sons fighting each other. So I'm sure it will rekindle the old rivalry within them. And it's going to kick off, and it's going to be absolutely fantastic to see. And I just can't wait for it. I'm a fan of all four of them, by the way. I'm a fan of all four of them, genuinely. And as I say, you're just not getting a bigger fight than this in this country. I mean, as I say, Fury AJ aside, you're not getting a bigger fight than this. And I think they could have done it in a stadium. I really do think they could have done it in a stadium. I think the fight is that big. The O2, it's going to be one hot ticket to get hold of.
Who do you think the bigger risk is for, in the sense of, if you take Conor Benn, he's jumping up the weight, so there's the risk associated there. And if you take Chris Eubank Jr., if he loses to Conor Benn, the guy coming up, then
I said earlier, Chris Jr. is much the bigger risk for Chris Jr. because if he loses, there is nowhere to go. He's probably going to have to retire. Mm-hmm. There's nowhere to go. Mm-hmm. If Conor loses, straight back down to 147 with an enhanced reputation, putting on a good display, and off he goes with his career.
Sam, let me get your thoughts on a couple of things and I'll let you go. Talks of a potential trilogy fight, that being between Tyson Fury and Derek Chisora, a fight you want to see?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But listen, if Tyson Fury wants to give his mate a payday, then that's up to Tyson Fury. People can say, oh yeah, I won't watch it. Yeah, I'll probably watch it, but will I be excited for it? Absolutely not. Tyson Fury should be fighting the winner of Anthony Joshua and Usyk. Everything else doesn't matter.
Potential. Do you buy into this? Isaac Lowe's the new trainer?
No, I do not buy into that whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
No. Isaac Lowe is not Tyson Fury's new trainer. If he is, he'll probably be the trainer for the Derek Chisora fight, because Tyson don't need a trainer for that fight. No disrespect to Derek, love Derek, but Tyson's beat him twice very, very comprehensively. He would do exactly the same thing again. It would not be, I'm sure it would be fun for 2 or 3 rounds, but nobody is interested in that fight. Nobody. So.
A lot of interest in this fight coming up. The unified heavyweight titles, Alexander Usyk and Anthony Joshua next weekend. Your thoughts and prediction for that one too, Sam?
I really, really want to see. I'm a massive fan of Usyk. Everyone's a fan of Usyk. He's a boxing genius. Pound for pound, great. But I would love to see Joshua chin him. I would love to see Joshua get his belts back. I'm fully team Joshua for this one. I really, really want to see him get his belts back. It will be a much more competitive fight this time. And I do think it's not going to points. I think it's going to be a stoppage one way or the other.
Have you seen the pictures of Usyk? He looks a lot heavier. And in the inverse, do you think Joshua might come in a little bit lighter?
Possibly. His weight against the Ruiz in the second fight was good, but Joshua's got to impose himself in this fight. But when people say, "Oh, he's got to go brawl with Usyk," you can't just go and brawl with Usyk, or he'll get stopped. Usyk will just clean shots to the head. Like it's no, you can't be reckless in the fight. But listen. I'm not a trainer, but if I was telling Anthony Joshua what to do in that fight, I would say I wouldn't even worry about throwing punches in the first couple of rounds. I'd just lean all over him. I'd just impose his size, climb all over him, be dirty, push his head down, lean on him, zap him of his energy, and then further down the line, then start letting your shots go. That's what I would do in this fight. But what the hell do I know?
Sam, you mentioned David Avanesyan, a former opponent of David Avanesyan being Josh Kelly. He's been ordered to fight Troy Williamson, a very good fight in prospect for the British 154-pound titles. Do you think that fight gets likely made?
Yeah, we want to make that fight. We want to make that fight. Troy's desperate to make the fight. I spoke to Adam Booth at the show in Newcastle the other week. He's keen to make the fight, so I'm sure the fight will happen. It's a great fight for both guys. It is the perfect fight for both guys. Josh Kelly at the stage of his career, Troy where he is, 2 boys from the northeast. It packs the arena up there. Good undercard. You've got a great show there. So the fight's got to happen. The fight has got to happen. One thing's for certain, as I say, I like Josh Kelly, but he needs to take this fight. He needs to take this fight and show how good he is. Do you know what I mean? And show how good he is. I mean, all that potential with Josh Kelly. He's got to show how good he is. But Troy is very, very confident in that fight, and he's very, very confident he'd get the win as well. But yeah, that's a fight that's surely going to happen.
Can you say the same for a lot of talk about it being very close, Sonny Edwards and Julio Cesar Martinez?
Say that again, sorry, mate. I didn't hear
Sonny Edwards and Julio Cesar Martinez.
Sonny against Martinez. Yeah, conversations are going really well for that fight. Yeah, that's a fight that I'm sure is going to happen, and I expect I would fancy Sonny big to win that fight.
Sam, can you shed any light on? There was a lot of furore about Pat McCormack and not being shown on Channel 5 at Channel 5's last show. Can you shed any light on what the situation was there?
Yeah, it was. Listen, the show kind of overran, and it was just very, very unfortunate and very sad for Pat that it didn't get shown on Channel 5. But listen, it wasn't ideal. It's Pat needs to be shown. Do you know what I mean? He needs to be shown. He's one of the best up and coming fighters in the world. And listen, that was just it was just an unfortunate thing. What happened? The show just overran. And he didn't get his he didn't get TV coverage.
Sam, I'll leave the final word with you. I've taken a lot more of the time than allotted, but any thoughts or anything else you want to mention?
No, mate. Just as I say, it's a great time for boxing. There's some huge fights coming. and it's a great time to be a boxing fan.
Sam, much appreciated. Thank you so much for picking this Box Social. I'll leave you to the rest of you, and thanks again.
No problem, mate. Take care.